Today, first two sessions we do have taxation and real estate. So one part relating to taxation and GST was taken by C. Arun Kumar Agrawal, and the second technical session on GST and direct taxes, rather income tax, will be taken up by none other than CA SS Gupta. So I request CA SS Gupta ji to please be on the dais. Oh, sorry, Vishnu ji. Thank you. May I request our immediate past chairman, CA Vishnu Kumar Tulsian, please come on the dais, sir. I hand over the proceeding to CA Vishnu ji.
देख लेती हूँ। Good noon, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you for the correction. I wanted to ignite everyone कि all are attentive or not. So it's a nice gathering, and the topic is very specific with respect to real estate, because the industry is specific and special topics which is dealt by everyone, by all of us in different manner. So this program was very much required. And as Hariramji, Vice Chairman, stated that we have already done the GST impact vis-a-vis RERA and real estate. Now we are going to take the view from income tax toward the real estate sectors. I request SS Gupta sir, our today's eminent speaker, to please come on the dais and take your seat, sir. And thank you so much for giving the opportunity for calling you and consenting our request to be the speaker of today. As sir has occupied the dais, I just going to formally introduce, although it is not required for him because he is known by everyone, because he has been the youngest chartered accountant at that time to be the first rank holder of the Eastern India. So give a big round of applause for him first of all. And now very briefly I am going to introduce him. C. SS Gupta is the proprietor of S. Swarup and Company, Chartered Accountant in Kolkata, with decades of professional experience in taxation and advisory services. He qualified as Chartered Accountant in 1973. It is even before my birth. So he is carrying a lot of experience of more than 50 years. At the youngest age of 19 and securing first rank in Eastern India as a CA final student. He was among the youngest Chartered Accountant in India at that time, creating a notable milestone in the history of the profession. In 1984, he established his own firm, and he is widely recognized as an expert of income tax and provides consultancy to leading chartered accountants and advocates. He has represented cases before various ITAT branches across India, including Kolkata, Delhi, Bangalore, Allahabad, Patna, Cuttack, and Guwahati. He has also addressed international symposiums in Singapore, Thailand, Nepal, subject such as Double Taxation and Avoidance Agreement, DTAA. He has been nominated as a special invitee to the Directors Committee of ICI for the year 24-25, and earlier served as co-opted member of Directors Committee of ICI in 15-16. He is also associated with several professional organizations including AIFTF, Merchant Chamber of Commerce, and various Chartered Accountant Association. And I think this profile may be shorter because many things might not be written here. So with these remarks, I welcome you, sir, and request everyone to please give a round of applause again. And request Ladan Sinha ji to please come on the dais and felicitate sir by way of Uterio and a lovely token from EIRC to him. Thank you, sir. Memento, please. Now, sir, the dice is yours, and I request everyone please be interactive so that your doubts can be created very well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Well, all dignitaries are in front of me. Sanjeev Sanghi, the Central Council member, Vishnu Tulsian, our past chairman, Hari Ramji, the present vice chairman, and others, all my friends. The topic allotted is nuts and bolts of real estate taxation. Well, friends, time allotted is given to me is 1 hour. I have selected certain case studies, about 20 to 25 case studies relating to real estate taxation, because if I start dealing with all the provisions and aspects of real estate taxation, even 2-3 hours would be insufficient according to me. But anyway, in the given time, whatever is permissible, whatever is practicable, I will try to make an attempt. And thereafter, for 10-15 minutes, we will have a question answer session for which you may have some doubts. Sir, what are the relevant provisions? First, I am just narrating that. Like you have section 145 dealing with method of accounting. 145(1) says any person having income from business or other sources have to follow either cash system or mercantile system. 145(2) says that central government is authorized to issue accounting standards, which they have already issued, the income computation and disclosure standards, ICDS, in the year 2016, applicable from 1/4/16. Then 145(3) empowers the assessing officer to determine and assess your income if the method of accounting employed is not regularly followed, or the income cannot be deduced correctly, or the accounting standards as notified under 145(2) are not followed. Then he has the power to make a best judgment assessment by rejecting your books of account under 145(3). Then, sir, we have the AS7, Accounting Standard 7, which deals with construction contracts, and AS9, which deals with recognition of revenue. What are its relevance to the real estate taxation? That we will discuss with reference to the various case studies. Then, sir, so far as real estate is concerned, there is no ICDS, there is no income computation and disclosure standard which have been issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Therefore, in absence of a ICDS, what we have is a guidance note which have been issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in the year 2012. That guidance note guides us and helps us. Then, sir, we have the provisions in the Income Tax Act dealing with taxation of real estate builders, selling real estate, the provisions of section 43C capital A. Then people holding the lands as capital asset, then provisions of 50C are there. Then provisions of 45 within bracket 5 capital A is there. So, depending upon the facts and circumstances of each case, you need to find out where do we fall, what are the provisions, and how to interpret and how to take our decisions. Then we have 247, section 2 within bracket 47 clause 5, which gives you the definition of transfer. So transfer in relation to capital asset, you need to follow whether you fall within section 247 sub clause 5 or sub clause 6 as the case may be. Then there are cases where a capital asset has been converted into stock in trade. Then provisions of 45 within bracket 2 will come into play. Then, sir, we have 43 CB, After the announcement of the income computation and disclosure standards, government introduced section 43 CB, which is more or less on the line of accounting standard 7. Then we have the provisions of 194I capital A, requiring deduction of tax at source by the buyer when the payments are made to the seller by deducting at least 1% on the actual consideration or stamp duty value, whichever is higher. That is 194IA. So, so many provisions are there, depending upon what are our facts, which provisions are applicable in our case, we have to proceed. Now, sir, certain case studies, I will narrate you the facts. Based on that, what is the decision taken by the concerned authority, that is the tribunal or the High Court or the Supreme Court. I think that will make a discussion on a better footing. Sir, capitalization of interest. Suppose you are into real estate business, you start a real estate project and you have borrowed funds. You have to pay interest on those funds. Now, since the project has started and the construction is in progress, the construction is not complete. As per guidance note issued by ICAI, as per accounting standards, you need to capitalize such interest in the CWIP, capital work in progress. Now, as per the 2012 guidelines issued by the guidance note issued by the ICAI, such capitalization is permitted. So, therefore, the revenue in a given case on such capitalization could not have any objection. The disallowance made or the additions made were deleted. This is a view taken by Ahmedabad Tribunal. So, I am not giving you the citation. If you want, I can cite it. This is 100 ITR Tribunal, page 625, Ahmedabad. See, I had an interesting case to argue before the Calcutta Tribunal on this capitalization of interest. One of the leading real estate builder of the city, who were constructing huge multi-storied buildings, they had borrowed several funds and utilized it in the construction. So, we received a notice under section 148 saying these are bogus companies, shell companies from whom you have borrowed funds. So, there is an escapement of income and hence section 148 notice was issued. So, on the amount of interest paid was in the show cause notice, it was stated that this is the income which has escaped assessment, because since it is a borrowing from a shell company or a bogus entity, so this interest is not, this interest has escaped assessment. Our reply to the assessing officer was, sir, we have borrowed this interest has not been claimed as a deduction. This has been capitalized as construction work in progress. Therefore, there is no question of income having escaped assessment, because I have not made any claim. But the learned AO did not agree to it. He made the addition of the amount of interest, and he also made the amount of the funds which were borrowed from such shell entities. Matter travelled to the CIT appeal. We said, sir, first of all, the notice which have been issued is this 148 notice is very, very important. You need to read and study it properly as to what are the grievances of the department. In the said notice, the only objection taken was regarding the amount of interest which was paid to the those companies. So, I stated, sir, the AO is travelling beyond the show cause notice, beyond the 148 notice, wherein the cause reasons for reopening is only the interest income escaping assessment. Therefore, he cannot extend his scope of notice after, because there is explanation 3 in section 147 which says, if during the course of reassessment proceedings you come to know certain things, then that also can be matter of subject matter. But a proper reading of section 147 and that explanation 3 would reveal that assessment on the basic reasons for which notice was issued is a must. In absence of that, you cannot travel further because your foundation collapses. So you cannot create any structure thereon. So I said, sir, since we have not claimed it, there is no this thing. CIT appeal agreed to our submissions, decided in our favor. Matter travelled to Calcutta Tribunal. There also I had occasion to appear, and I had the same argument, sir. The basis for which 148 was issued is not has not escaped assessment, as I have not claimed it. I have kept the tribunal immediately decided matter in our favor. It is more than 3-4 years. The matter has not gone to Calcutta High Court till now. So therefore, capitalization of expenses cannot have, because it is revenue neutral. The revenue is not suffering by that. Please.
When the funds are borrowed from a sale companies, unless and until the department proves that I am connected with the sale company in some way or the other, they cannot just say that this is Nissan.
Sir, that is a altogether a different aspect, you know. Now we are going into the meaning and definition of what is a shell company. Only because the company is a shell company does not mean that it should be added or disallowed. See, there is a Ahmedabad tribunal decision wherein it has been held, if the status of that company is found active on the MCA website, then it cannot be treated as a shell company. So first of all, once you come across such situations, you should check up the status of that company on the MCA site. And if you find that the company is regularly filing its ROC returns and everything, and status has been said to be active, then you have a case to argue. Because Income Tax Act per se does not define shell company. Meaning of shell company is extracted from the various judicial decisions which have taken place. And one of such decision, as I told you, that if your status is active on MCA site, then Ahmedabad Tribunal has said it cannot be stated to be a shell company. So you must check up first of all the MCA status of that company.
When you say capitalize, so when a developer with the intention to sell the property, like for a flat, so in that case the developer always takes it to a work in progress under stock in hand.
Yeah.
Not under fixed asset.
Yeah.
In that case, it is not capitalized, it is added to the
See, a very good question. See, taking it to CWIP, capital work in progress, or taking it to stock in trade in the closing stock, amount will have the same impact. You will be able to establish that this amount was debited to P&L account and the same amount has been capitalized by way of stock in trade or CWIP. And there are decisions to this effect wherein it has been held that it is revenue neutral, so therefore revenue should not have any objection in such cases.
सर आपने बोला इंटरेस्ट ऑन सेल कंपनी इंटरेस्ट पेबल टू सेल कंपनी उसको कैपिटलाइज कर दिया तो टैक्सेबल नहीं होगा वो तो लोन अमाउंट को भी ऐड कर रहे हैं.
Sir, loan amount has been added by the AO. See, that was a proceeding under section 148. So under section 148, you have to analyze that what are the reasons for reopening. This was not the reason. So in the reasons of reopening as received by us, the figure of only interest paid to such companies was taken. So we took a technical, friends, I am not suggesting, but this is my experience. When we don't have a case on merits, then we try to find way out from these technicalities. In the facts of this case, the 148 was confined only to the interest paid or payable to those companies. We said since we have not claimed it in the P&L account, what is debited, exact amount is part of the capital CWIP. We could explain that by way of the details. The CIT appeal and the tribunal decided it in our favor. Then, sir, another case study, selling of plots, income to be recognized only in the year in which conveyance deed is executed, and development charges to be allowed only then. incurred or to be incurred. I am trying to explain you. You have entered into an agreement or a contract with a buyer that these are the plots which I will sell. So the buyer will naturally say, sir, इसमें boundary बनाना होगा, इसमें आपको leveling करना होगा, you know. You enter into an agreement to sell by incorporating that as a seller, what are my responsibilities? My responsibility is to level the land. My responsibility is to create a boundary which will demarcate my land from the others' lands. So all these conditions. So agreement has been entered into. Possession has been given subject to that agreement to sell, wherein these conditions 1, 2, 3 are there. Now question is, you have given me the full amount. I have entered into that agreement subject to fulfillment of A, B, C. Now in the year when I have received the payment, in the year when I have entered into the agreement, should the entire income be assessed to tax? As a seller, I have recognized the revenue, but I have made provision for expenses to be incurred in future. उसका डिमार्केशन करने का, लेवलिंग करने का मैंने एक प्रॉपर एस्टिमेट आर्किटेक्ट से, इंजीनियर से लेके बुक्स में प्रोविजन किया है. नाउ क्वेश्चन इज वेदर सच एक्सपेंसेस कैन बी क्लेम्ड एंड अलाउड एज ए डिडक्शन, वेदर दे आर एन ascertained liability. The reply has been held to be yes. See, we were handling one matter of one of the big real estate group of Calcutta, wherein certain crores of rupees, when the project was finally CC was received, completion certificate was received, possession letter were given to the buyers, but किसी में विंडोज बाकी है, किसी में पेंटिंग बाकी है, किसी में ये एज पर द एग्रीमेंट टू सेल जो मेरा को ऑब्लिगेशंस था, सो मेनी थिंग्स वेर पेंडिंग. So flat wise and calculation and estimate was made that what are the actions which are pending on the part of the builder to be executed, and a estimate of expenses was there, and certain crores were made by way of a provision by debiting the profit and loss account, and profit was ascertained accordingly. The assessing officer issued a show cause notice, sir, these are contingent liabilities, unascertained liabilities, you should not get it. I was handling that matter. I relied on a Supreme Court decision, Calcutta Company Limited, 37 ITR page 1. Sir, in that decision what has been stated, that whenever you recognize a revenue, if for recognizing that revenue, if you have to incur certain expenses which are not yet incurred and which are your legal obligation as per the terms of the agreement of sale, then they are a legitimate deduction or ascertained liability to be allowed in that case. So this is what has happened here in one of the cases recently decided by Bangalore bench of the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal in 162 ITD page 419. So then sir, बोलिए. See, if you have understood the principle, then till those expenses are incurred, the buyer will have a legitimate right to claim or sue you for that. That will depend on once again the facts and circumstances of your case as to when those expenses have. अगर agreement में कोई time limit दिया है, then only till that time you can you have to complete your obligations. Non-fulfillment of your obligations within the given time will definitely entail some damages or penalties as per the terms of the agreement. But all these things are contractual obligations and they have to be incurred by you.
So the revenue has been already recognized,
Huh?
the provision was made.
Huh, sir?
So the revenue has already been recognized in the year.
Right. When you have recognized the revenue for a particular flat or a plot, और उस फ्लैट या प्लॉट को सेल करने के लिए एग्रीमेंट में हमने क्लियर लिखा हुआ है कि हमको ये काम करके देना है. If part of those activities have not been performed or done by me, then it is my obligation. So I have to make a provision for such expenses to be allowed as a deduction. हाँ, that is what has been done here. Balance sheet से मतलब नहीं है. In the profit and loss account, you have debited the interest, and in the capital WIP or stock in trade, that figure has been there. So that matches each other. So it is a principle of matching principle. That is what has been explained by Supreme Court in Calcutta Company Limited 37 ITR page 1. Sir, another interesting matter which I had to argue in Calcutta Tribunal. See, as a real estate builder, sometimes you enter into an agreement for construction of a building, flat, apartment, etc. Then in that agreement, invariably there is a time limit fixed that you will complete the construction within, say, 2 years or 3 years or 1 year, as the case may be. Now, when the construction is not complete within the agreed period and there is a delay in completion, then invariably the agreement contains that if there is a delay, then if there is a delay up to 1 year, so and so interest or penalty will be levied on you. If there is a delay beyond this, then so and so. So I was handling a matter of a real estate builder here. They had entered into an agreement with Asansol Development Authority for construction of a complex. Now that agreement has specified everything, that this complex will be as per this design, as per this pattern, as per such kinds of materials, and the time for completion is so much. If you delay the completion within the specified time, then there will be a penalty of rupees so much. तो वो पेनल्टी का भी 2-3 भाग में उन्होंने किया कि if the delay is for this period, so much penalty. If it is beyond this period, so much penalty. In the facts of our case, the penalty levied for delayed completion was amounting to 60 lakhs of rupees. And in the agreement, they have used the expression penalty. You know, in general, in income tax, penalties are not allowed as a deduction. So the assessing officer, by citing the relevant clause of the agreement, said as per this clause the penalty was to be paid. Assessee had paid a penalty of so and so, therefore this is added, not disallowed. So matter was carried to Calcutta Tribunal and I had occasion to argue that matter. I said, sir, here the department is going by the nomenclature and expression penalty as given in the concerned agreement. I am not denying that. But sir, is it a penalty for infraction of any law, or it is a normal day-to-day contractual obligations in the course of carrying on of my business? Suppose you enter into an agreement with a seller that I will supply you so much material within 3 months. Then same agreement says if I fail to supply within 3 months, I will give you so much of interest or so much of compensation. Now, Supreme Court has held that whenever you decide the matter of allowability or disallowability of a penalty, you should first determine whether it is penal in nature or it is compensatory in nature. In the example I cited, it was held to be compensatory in nature, and Calcutta Tribunal was pleased to decide the matter in our favor to say that it is nothing but a payment of a compensatory nature and held allowable. The department has not carried the matter to Calcutta High Court.
अपने को बुक्स में पेनल्टी लिखना जरूरी है क्या?
हाँ सर,
कंपेंसेशन लिख सकते हैं?
we can, that is better, but in the facts of the case I discussed, they had mentioned a penalty of rupees so much would be given. But there is a saying that nomenclature cannot change and does not change the nature of a particular expression. So by giving a name, you cannot decide the nature of such expenses or allowability or disallowability. Like if a capital expenditure has been debited to revenue expenditure in P&L account by saying that revenue repairs and maintenance. Now, by just merely by giving the nomenclature repairs and maintenance does not mean that it is of a revenue nature. Now, sir, when does the transfer take place is a very crucial question in case of real estate. Now, if you ask me, sir, you tell us how should we decide when does the transfer takes place. Sir, the transfer in case of a real estate takes place based on the terms and conditions of your agreement with the buyer. Your intentions as can be culled out from the reading of the concerned agreement. Now, here is a case study of Mumbai Tribunal. Transfer depends on terms and conditions of agreement of sale and deed of conveyance. In the facts of this case, payment of full consideration was there. Registration of sale was in financial year 2010-11. But possession delivered and full control subsequent to 10-11, that is in subsequent years. The Bombay Tribunal said that transfer will take place only when possession in subsequent year is given. There is a Patna High Court decision that is reported in 201 ITR. In that decision, there was a agreement to sell a property, possession was given, payment agreement was entered into, and deed of conveyance was executed. But it was mentioned in the agreement to sale and the deed of conveyance that the transfer would be complete and effective only on receipt of 100% payment from the buyer. Based on that clause in the agreement to sale and deed of conveyance, the Patna High Court said transfer is not complete because the parties are not intending that the transfer would be complete. So much will depend on your intention. How do you draft your agreement? Therefore, any agreement dealing with this taxation of real estate should also be understood and vetted by people who are dealing with taxation, because these minor things can change and affect the taxability or non-taxability of a particular this thing.
So, but then whatever the transfer takes place and the date of allotment of the flat, even if the registration is carried out, I mean, you are saying that if I write in the agreement in my own words like that, so the whole thing will change?
Yes, sir. It's merely by entering into an agreement to sale, the transfer does never take place. You have a Supreme Court decision in the name of Balbir Singh Maini. Supreme Court in that decision has said unless and until the agreement to sale and the deed of transfer are registered, they do not have any effect. Even if you go by the definition of transfer as given in 247 clause 5, wherein it says that if a transfer of a property has been given possession pursuant to the by entering into a contract in accordance with section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act, then even if whether registration has been done or not, it will be deemed to transfer to taken place. That is no longer valid. That is no longer valid. The 24th September 2001, 3 amendments were carried out. 53A of the Transfer of Property Act, 17(1)A of the Registration Act, and section 49 of the Registration Act. The effect of all these 3 amendments is that in absence of non-registered documents, in absence of registration of these documents, 53A does not apply, 48 and 40, for the purposes of 40 and 49, no transfer takes place. So therefore, registration is a mandatory condition. So in absence of that, that does not come into picture.
Sir, one thing. In case of residential flat allotted by the builder, upon the issue of allotment letter, the transfer takes place.
Sir, the transfer does not take place on the issue of allotment letter. You might get a possession of your residential premises. You might show it as a fixed asset or a residential property in your balance sheet, but the legal effect in absence of a conveyance has been held to be, in absence of a registered deed, is not the transfer is not complete. For the limited purpose of income from house property, there is a Supreme Court decision which have held that if I have taken the possession and given it on rent on the basis that it is my property, court has right up to Supreme Court has stated that it will be taxable as income from house property since it is owned by you. But that ownership does not have a legal impact here because of this Balbir Singh Mani's decision and because of the amendments carried out to these three enactments which I have just cited.
Therefore, the builder also will not be recognizing the revenue until it is registered.
I mean, legally the builder cannot. Legally the builder cannot. So I was coming to that. You have asked the question earlier. चलिए पहले TDS का बात कर लेते हैं. Sir, TDS in case of real estate, as all of us know, there is section 194I capital A. If you purchase an immobile property valuing more than 50 lakhs of rupees, then you need to deduct a TDS of at the rate of 1%, obviously from the resident transferor. Now, question is, the builder, when does he get the credit of such TDS? I have entered into an agreement to sell with you today. You are the builder, I am the buyer. The total payment to be made during the terms of the contract is say 3 crores of rupees. So, right from the day one when I start making payments, I start deducting 1%. Now, your question is, when does the seller get the credit of that TDS? Sir, the reply is hidden in section 199 and rule 37BA of the Income Tax Rules 1960. So, what is 199? That credit of TDS will be given in the year in which the relevant income is offered for taxation. Correct? That is the mandate of rules 37BA also. So, as a builder or developer, I am not recognizing that money received from you as my income because I am revenue recognition is not done in the year of receipt of advances. The advances are kept as liabilities. So, I will have to carry over these TDS till the year when I recognize the revenue on completion of this thing, construction or handing over of the possession, depending upon what method of accounting I am followed. And this has been judicially accepted in several decisions that credit of TDS always goes with the offering of income. Even as a professional, I give you an example. You are auditors of certain ABC company. Say, अभी हम लोग March 26 का audit करेंगे. Now the client will make a provision of TDS in the March 26, but you will render your services post 31st March 26. The audit will be complete sometimes in June, July, August, September. Then you will raise your bill. Then the payment will come after deducting of TDS. So that TDS will figure in the financial year 25-26 AS. But you will account for your income in the current year because you have raised your invoice in this year. So, उसमें भी you have all right, legal right to claim the TDS on the current year because the income has been offered in the current year. और आपको ITR जो fill up करते हैं उसमें हम लोग लिखते हैं ये TDS carried forward का जो है जिसकी income यहाँ recognize नहीं हो रहे हैं. So, therefore, TDS claim, TDS credit should always be matched with the year in which the relevant income is offered for taxation. No, there is no time limit. The only thing you need to match it with the income and claim it in the relevant year. At best, the department can ask you to give you an affidavit that this credit has not been claimed in any other year.
Is there a requirement of filing Form 71?
सर मैं थोड़ा नहीं समझ पा रहा हूँ, फॉर्म 71 किस चीज़ के लिए? I don't think the return itself gives you a, ITR itself permits you to make that breakup. Yes sir, yes sir.
तो मोटर से प्रॉपर्टी लेने पे ट्रांसफर होगा एक्चुअली जब पोजीशन में या रजिस्ट्री होगा
हम्म।
तो बिल्डिंग बन जाए उसके बाद अगर ये बिल्डिंग प्रॉपर्टी बेच देते हैं तो कैपिटल गेन पे डेफिनेटली वो सब तो आए नहीं ट्रांसफर
Sir, I am coming to that. I have entered into an agreement, नया प्रोजेक्ट आ रहा है, मैंने अभी एंटर किया, तो डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द स्टेजेस ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीशन डिमांड्स आ रहे हैं, पेमेंट दे रहा हूँ. 2 साल बाद मैं देखता हूँ इसका दाम बढ़ गया, कंस्ट्रक्शन कंप्लीट नहीं है अभी. आई एम थिंकिंग यार नहीं, लेट मी सेल इट. नाउ योर क्वेश्चन इज whether the profit or gain arising out of this mid-year transfer of, इसको बोलते हैं nomination, by way of nomination, whether it will be attract tax liability as business income or as capital gain. Sir, what you are transferring before completion of construction is neither land nor building. You are transferring your rights in that land and building which have arisen to you by virtue of entering into that agreement to sale. So transfer of rights, यहाँ एक क्वेश्चन ये बहुत बड़ा है, रेवेन्यू जो इन्वेरिएबली करती है कि आपने जब बेचा उस समय आपने एक एग्रीड कंसिडरेशन पे बेच दिया, लेकिन उसकी स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू इज मच मोर देन दैट एग्रीड कंसिडरेशन. Whether you will be hit by the provisions of 50C. Now 50C की wording क्या है? Transfer of land or building or both. It does not say transfer of land or building or any rights therein. Correct? Therefore it can be successfully argued, and it has been argued in several cases, and courts and tribunals have held that 50C cannot apply when there is neither a transfer of land nor a transfer of building, but the transfer of rights in land or building. Therefore 50C does not apply. See, आप यहाँ एक्ट नहीं है, नहीं तो मैं sir, a very good question once again. See, whenever there are lease properties, leasehold properties, तो उसमें भी 50C नहीं आता है, because there it is not neither a land nor a building. These are leasehold rights in that particular building that is purchased and or sold. And there are judicial decisions to support what you say, that leasehold rights do not and cannot attract 50C.
Sir, one related question.
बोले.
You were saying that transfer registration of property act is supreme, right? So in like cooperative flats, people are getting registered in single names, and then as per cooperative law they are adding their spouse's name or whatever, and then they are sharing the flats in, both of them are taking the benefits. So is it on illegal sense?
Well, if it is permitted as per the law that buying in my single name and selling in the name of myself and my spouse, if there is no objection as per the laws of the state, concerned state, then there should not be an issue. Much will depend upon who has made the investment, how the investment has been accounted for in your books of accounts, and accordingly the sale proceeds have also been accounted for in the books of accounts. Both the laws. Then sir, 45(2), conversion of a capital asset into stock in trade. What is 45(2)? 45(2) says if a capital asset is converted into a stock in trade or treated by the concerned assessee as a stock in trade of a business carried on by him, then the profits and gains of the converted asset will be taxable in the year in which the converted asset has been sold or transferred. Now, I am holding a land which I have converted into stock in trade now, and I am entering into a joint development agreement with a developer by saying that ये आप ले लीजिए, that we enter into an agreement कि इतना square feet of the constructed area will come to me. Now question is कि which is the year? Is it the year of conversion or is it the year of constructed property? जब sale होगी तब वो taxation होगा. Going by 45(2), it will be taxed in the year in which the converted asset or constructed asset has been sold subsequently. There is a reported decision of Captain R. Gopinath HUF. You know R. Gopinath HUF जो कौन सी एयरलाइन थी ना, डेक्कन एयर थी शायद, उनके ये he promoted that airline. Now he had 44,000 square feet of land with him. Now he converted his land into stock in trade under 45(2) and then entered into a development agreement with a builder and developer. तो वो बिल्डर डेवलपर ने कंस्ट्रक्शन किया, उनको 25-26 हज़ार स्क्वायर फीट का कंस्ट्रक्टेड एरिया मिलना था, विच वॉज सोल्ड इन 2 years, नॉट इन 1 year. The question arose, the department wanted to tax the entire amount in the first year, but going by 45(2), it was argued successfully, and Chennai tribunal endorsed this thing, that no, as per 45(2), it will be taxed in the year in which the converted assets have been sold. So that is Captain R. Gopinath HUF versus Assistant CIT 133 TTJ, Chennai, page 595. This is 45(2). Then the famous decision of Balbir Singh Maini, Supreme Court, which is an authority now to say that all agreements to sale, all power of attorneys, all joint development agreements have to be mandatorily registered. Non-registration of such documents will have no effect. They will not constitute transfer. They will not constitute any agreement pursuant as stated in 53A of the Company Transfer of Property Act. That is 251 Taxman, page 202, Supreme Court. So this is a very important decision.
सर कल एक क्वेश्चन आया था,
बोलिए.
you can highlight that issue. There is a JDA entered and three concepts arises of residential property. Either I go for total revenue sharing, or I go for total space sharing, or I go for a part, revenue and part space sharing. So what is your opinion regarding taxation?
Sir, again, revenue sharing agreements or area sharing agreements will have similar tax implications. Why I tell you? Suppose you enter into a JDA with a builder or developer, आप अपनी ज़मीन उनको दे देते हैं, and in that agreement it is entered that 60% of the constructed space will come to you. The first decision, which was an adverse decision in favor of revenue, came from Bombay High Court in the case of Chaturbhuj Das Dwarka Das Kapadia, 260 ITR page 491. In that decision, the Bombay High Court said, as soon as I enter into a development agreement and give possession of the land, it should be treated as a transfer. 45(5)(a) उस समय एप्लीकेबल नहीं था, बिकॉज 45(5)(a) केम इन टू स्टैट्यूट बुक बाय फाइनेंस एक्ट 16 विद इफेक्ट फ्रॉम 1/4/17, असेसमेंट ईयर 17-18. सो एनीवे, दैट इज, बट दैट डिसीजन बिकेम ए वेपन, और हिंदी में अस्त्र शस्त्र इन द हैंड्स ऑफ द रेवेन्यू. इन एवरी केस दे यूज टू अप्लाई चतुर्भुज द्वारकादास कपाड़िया टू से, if there is a development agreement, it will constitute a transfer. तो वो हम लोगों को, या those who are practicing taxation and legal side of taxation, several so causes, several such cases we had to handle. and we had to say, so what is to be done or what is to be seen in such cases? What is the purpose and object of giving possession? If the purpose and object is only limited for the purpose of allowing the builder or developer to enter the land and obtain various sanctions and approvals and do the construction and sell the apartments or units to prospective buyers, but all powers having been given, still a clause is always added that this possession is only for the limited purpose of permitting the builder or developer to enter the land and complete the construction. But he does not become a transferee. He does not become a transferee for that matter. The land will continue to belong to the landowner till the construction is complete or the area as agreed is handed over to me. Till that point of time there cannot be a, और इस पे फिर बाद में several high courts, several tribunal decisions have come and they have agreed, and now as on date Chaturbhuj Dwarka Das 260 ITR 491 is not a good law as on date.
Sir, what about that when 45(5)(a) is not applicable? The revenue take, the rate of JDA as the transfer of the land to the builder. I mean, taxability of transfer.
Sir,
Flats, it is completed.
I'm coming to that. 45(5)(a) first of all is applicable only when the land is owned by an individual or HUF. Other than individual and HUF, 45(5)(a) has no applicability. 45(5)(a) is applicable effective assessment year 17-18, that is with effect from 1/4/16 onwards, not prior thereto. So in absence of applicability of 45(5)(a), whatever are the judicial decisions, whatever are the laws which have been enunciated prior thereto, or अभी भी जो private limited company entities other than individual and HUF, whatever decisions are being taken to constitute transfer, they will still continue to be applicable. So you have to make first of all you have to decide who is the transferor, whether he is an individual or HUF or whether he is an entity other than individual or HUF. Then what is being transferred? In the books of the transferor, in the hands of the transferor, whether it is a stock in trade or whether it is a capital asset. If it is a stock in trade, then 43C capital A will come into play. If it is a capital asset, then section 50C will come into play. So much will depend upon the facts of a particular case, but 45(5)(a) has a limited application. Stock in trade to capital assets, sir, that is dealt with in section 28. जो अभी for a couple of years back that amendment came, that prior to that amendment we had argued a matter in Calcutta Tribunal where we stated, sir, such transfers are not contemplated by Act, therefore you cannot have any chargeability to tax which is not contemplated. बाद में amendment आया, but now if you do that, it will be taxed on the basis of fair market value of your asset on the date of conversion. So whenever you enter into a joint development agreement, you must have a clause in your joint development agreement to say that possession is given as a license to enter and not in the capacity of a transferee or not in the capacity of a buyer. Because आपका जो guidance note आया था institute का, institute does not have any ICDS on this. There was a guidance note and this expert advisory committee of ICAI, in its opinion, published in volume 23 query 15, clarified that revised AS was not applicable to real estate developers. See, invariably the income tax department says परसेंटेज कंप्लीशन मेथड क्यों नहीं फॉलो किया, AS7 क्यों नहीं फॉलो किया, ICDS 3 क्यों नहीं फॉलो किया, शो को जाता है. सो there is no ICDS for real estate developers. Guidance note of ICI specifically says that AS7 or ICDS 3 is not applicable for real estate developers. They are applicable only for pure contractors, construction contractors, for a construction contract, not for a real estate project. सो ये EAC का गाइडेंस नोट हम लोगों को एक यहाँ की वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट रियल एस्टेट डेवलपर वी हैड रिसीव्ड ए शो कोज नोटिस जिसमें उन्होंने 500 करोड़ का कैलकुलेशन करके हम लोगों को दिया था कि यू आर नॉट फॉलोइंग परसेंटेज कंप्लीशन, व्हाई नॉट. देन वी सेड ऑल दीज थिंग्स. देन देयर इज ए सुप्रीम कोर्ट डिसीजन, बिल्हारी इन्वेस्टमेंट 299 ITR पेज 1. In that decision, the Supreme Court has stated that both the methods of valuation, both the methods of percentage completion method as also project completion method are recognized methods of accounting. If I am following a method consistently year after year and the revenue is accepting my methods, and if there is no change in facts or law, the department cannot change it all of a sudden. We have the There is no problem, sir. उसी के लिए मैं अभी वही बोल रहा था. If you are following AS7, department is accepting, there is no change in the facts and law of your case, then the department cannot all of a sudden come and say नहीं आपको तो completed contract पे करना पड़ेगा. They cannot. There are judicial decisions to support. You have the benefit of Supreme Court decision in the case of Radha Swami Satsang 193 ITR. In that decision, it has been clearly stated, if there is no change in facts or law, a practice followed consistently, accepted by the department year after year, in a particular year, they cannot come and say, no, it is wrong or it is contrary to set. See, department can, how it can say, it, if I have been following and accepting, sir, there cannot be a double taxation also, because you have been offering the income on the basis of percentage completion method. So every year certain amounts have been offered for taxation and taxes have been paid to the government. Now in the current year when your project is complete, the department cannot come and say, no, you should follow project completion method and so the entire profit should be taxed in this year. That cannot be done. That amounts to double taxation. So already those incomes have been taxed in earlier year. हाँ sir, such situations have, we are handling one matter, not in the case of real estate, but in the case of a salaried employee. He is a highly paid salaried employee. तो मार्च 25 की उनकी जो सैलरीज हैं, they have not been paid by the employers in the month of March. Employers की बुक्स में सैलरी को डेबिट करके आउटस्टैंडिंग पेबल बोल के कैरी ओवर हो गया. All of us know that TDS under 192 is to be deducted in the year of actual payment, not on the basis of accrual. सो TDS भी मेरा जब सब्सिक्वेंट ईयर में एम्प्लॉयर ने हमको दिया सैलरी उस समय काटा तो मेरे बट एज एन एम्प्लॉई offering of income under the head salary goes on accrual basis. It does not go on the receipt basis. It goes on the accrual basis. So I have already offered that income in the earlier year. If I offered that income, as I said earlier, relevant, the concerned TDS also I have claimed. In my case it was disallowed by on the plea sir 26 AS में ये आपका appear नहीं हो रहा है. Therefore we are not allowing it. We have relied on several decisions and section 199, rule 37B capital A, and department has accepted our this argument and given, they have taken an undertaking. We have not claimed in 2 years, we have claimed in only 1 year where the related income has been offered for taxation. It is advisable to disclose. So, sir, now another question is, whenever you enter into an area sharing agreement or a revenue sharing agreement with a builder, like in the facts of this case, 44% land was transferred to the developer. The understanding was that 56% of the built up area will come to me. Correct? Now, how do you calculate your capital gain in the year of transfer? 44% land is being transferred, given possession now. 56% will come to me after the construction is complete, and then only the possession will come to me. How do I value my consideration in such a case? This is a decision directly of the Delhi High Court, where it said that actual cost of construction of 56% will constitute my consideration. आप समझ गए? तो अब इसमें भी हम लोग बोलते हैं, सर, in the facts of this case one could find out that, but in the year, in the very first year when agreement has been entered into, 44% land has been transferred, an agreement is there that 56% of the constructed area will come to me. When the construction will be complete, what will be the stamp duty value or fair market value at that time, उसके बेसिस में होगा. You know, there is a famous decision of the Supreme Court, B.C. Srinivasa Setty, 128 ITR. In that decision, what the Supreme Court has stated, that if the computation provisions cannot be applied to a fact situation, then the charging provisions fail. Like in the case of the facts of that decision was, it was a case of transfer and sale of a self-generated goodwill. You have a business establishment running for last 20 years. So आपका नाम हो गया, people have started coming to you, customers have started coming to you, you have a name in the market, so there is a goodwill. Now after 20 years, for several reasons, health, age or whatever it is, you wish to discontinue. But when you sell, you also say, sir, my shop has a name, my shop has a goodwill, so उसका भी हमको payment चाहिए. But this goodwill was not acquired by making any payment. It has been created, self-generated. So a certain amount was agreed mutually and that amount was received. Now the assessee did not offer anything to capital gain. What was his argument? Sir, section 48 for the purposes of computation of capital gain says you should have full value of consideration, you should have cost, you should have cost of improvement, you should have transfer expenses, and accordingly make the computation. But in the facts of my case, there is no cost. There is no cost. Therefore, the computation cannot be, provisions are not applicable in my case. And Supreme Court in B.C. Srinivasa Setty 128 ITR had decided this, that if computation provisions are not applicable, इसके बाद फिर उन्होंने 55 में amendment करके बोल दिया कि in such a case the cost of the goodwill would be treated as zero and therefore 100% of. But we have done several cases on this which have been decided in SSE's favor prior to that amendment of section 55. Yeah, if you are not covered by 55 and if the cost of acquisition cannot be ascertained or cannot be found, or it is a self-generated thing, then definitely this benefit of B.C. Srinivasa Setty has not been nullified. Even today it holds good. but only in those cases where there is no cost of acquisition or cost of acquisition is unascertainable.
In case of JP, in the hands of landowner, sir, whether income in the hands of landowner, both capital gain and business income, both will be less.
Sir, that will depend upon whether your land is held as a stock in trade in your books of accounts or the land is held as a capital asset in your books of account. I am a landowner. In my balance sheet, I am showing it as a capital asset. Then, for me, it will be capital gain. I am a landowner. In my balance sheet, I am showing it as a stock in trade. Then, whatever is gain I arise pursuant to this joint development agreement or transfer, that will be business income. That is why you have two separate provisions in Income Tax Act, 43C capital A and 50C. 43C capital A is for lands held as stock in trade, 50C is for lands as a capital asset. Sir, I have been given 5-7 minutes, तो मैं सोचता हूँ आप लोगों की कुछ क्वेरीज हो तो या आप बोले तो मैं कंटिन्यू कर सकता हूँ जैसे आप लोग बोले.
What about that, sir? Before entering into agreement, I changed my balance sheet from capital assets to.
That is the Captain R. Gopinath HUF decision. He was holding it as a capital asset. He converted into a stock in trade and then entered into a development agreement, and that is why he could successfully argue before the Chennai tribunal that since it is a stock in trade converted from a capital asset, the profit will be taxable only in the year in which the converted asset is sold or transferred, not in the year of entering into the development agreement.
And so this can be achieved just by changing the balance sheet.
No, you should make an affidavit, you should give a notes in the notes on accounts that this has been done. In case of a company SSC, corporate SSC, you should pass a board resolution to this effect and give it in the notes on accounts. Proper suitable disclosure should be there.
So therefore, it's a capital asset, and once the construction is completed and it is registered in the name of the landowner
Huh.
from the developer, then the question of capital gain arises. Now, if it is into stock and trade, then this value as on that date, the registrar's value, that would amount to profit from business.
Sir, once again, if it is a capital asset in your accounts and if you are an individual or HUF, you have to go by 45(5)(a). If it is a capital asset, you are an entity other than individual and HUF, then it will be capital gain. Then it will be capital gain. And if it is a stock in trade, then only when the converted asset or the stock in trade, when it is sold and or transferred in the hands by the
The value at which it's registered and the person, say, if an individual entity gets it, that time that
See, individual HUF में it has been specifically mentioned in 45(5)(a) कि stamp duty value on the date of receipt of CC will constitute the full value of consideration. In other cases, you can have both the things. Stamp duty value ले लीजिए, उस दिन का valuation करवा लीजिए, उस दिन की fair market value establish कर दीजिए, that will constitute that. Yes, sir.
डेवलपर्स एग्रीमेंट की है, टोटल 40 फ्लैट्स बनेगा,
हाँ,
तो 25 फ्लैट बिक्री होगी, 25-26, 15 फ्लैट बिक्री होगा 26-27।
right.
तो ऑनर्स लैंड ओनर के पोर्शन में एक्सेबिलिटी क्या 2 ईयर में डिवाइड करेंगे या जब सीसी मिलेगा तब करेंगे?
If the landowner in this case is individual or a company, it's an individual. So now you are covered within the parameters of 45(5)(a). 45(5)(a) says that if before the receipt of CC, you have transferred your rights and your portion of land or building or both, then it will be taxed as per the normal provisions. Then stamp duty value का कोई उसमें वो नहीं चलेगा. Yeah, the unsold portion will be held as a stock in trade. Stock in trade as per the ICDS 2 is to be valued as per net realizable value or market value, whichever is lower. हाँ, you will get, it will be capital gain when you receive it on the portion of land से जो connect करेंगे, and you have the right and to claim 54F benefit also. अगर if it is arising by transfer of an asset other than residential house and you are utilizing that receipted flats as per for residential purpose. Yes, yes, yes. नहीं सर, 54F के लिए what 54F arises on the basis of capital gain, full value of consideration if invested in acquiring a residential flat. तो full value of consideration तो आपको जो मिल रही है तो ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ उससे स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू से आप अपना निकाल लीजिए. दैट विल बी द बेसिस ऑफ. हाँ सर, कॉस्ट ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए डायरेक्टली हमारे पास दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का वो डिसीजन है जो मैंने आपको साइट किया था. लेकिन अगर इफ इट इज़ ए केस ऑफ 45(5)(a) देन आपको स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू लेना पड़ेगा. है सर? नो 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 नो. You are a landowner. You are entering into a JDA with a builder or developer. The agreement is that आप अपनी लैंड के अगेंस्ट में इतना फ्लैट्स या इतना एरिया आपको मिलेगा. So therefore what you are getting is a finished product or a constructed product in the form of a flat or a unit or an apartment. तो on the date of the CC जो उसकी स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू होगी that will determine your full value of consideration.
And last two questions, please. Last two questions, sir. Thank you. Last two questions.
Sir, the point is not getting clear. I am an individual.
Okay.
Before entering into the JDA agreement, I converted it to a stock agreement. Now, 3-4 flats are being registered in my name. I am getting it as per the agreement. Now, on this particular date, the question of profit does not arise until I sell it.
सर, इसका भी रिप्लाई दे रहा हूँ मैं. आई हैव अंडरस्टूड योर क्वेरी. योर क्वेरी इज दैट आई हैव एंटर्ड इनटू ए जेडीए. एज पर जेडीए मेरे को 5 फ्लैट मिलना था, वो तैयार होके मिल गया. तो अब बेचूंगा मैं, बाद में बेचूंगा, कब बेचूंगा तब का. नाउ हियर देयर विल बी 2 स्टेजेस ऑफ टैक्सेबिलिटी. वन इज टैक्सेशन ऑन ट्रांसफर ऑफ लैंड. The taxation on transfer of land is the stamp duty value of the constructed property as on the date of CC. You followed? तो उसके बेसिस पे आपका लैंड का LTCG या STCG कंप्यूट हो जाएगा. That ends. That becomes the cost of those constructed flats. अब इसको जब आप बेचेंगे, depending upon whether you have sold it after 2 years or after 3 months or 6 months, short term या long term capital compute होगा. हैं सर? सर 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 1 करोड़ रुपए की लैंड थी, 3 करोड़ का मेरे को कंस्ट्रक्टेड पोर्शन स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू से मिल गया. 2 करोड़ रुपया मेरा टैक्सेबल हो गया एज पर 45(5)(a). करेक्ट. अब मेरा जो फ्लैट मिला उसका कॉस्ट 3 करोड़ हो गया. नाउ दिस 3 करोड़ वर्थ ऑफ फ्लैट्स आफ्टर 6 months और आफ्टर 1 year इफ दे आर सोल्ड एट से 4 करोड़, तो 4 minus 3 will be the capital gain.
Last question, sir, please. Last question.
Sir, in case of individual, if he is selling after the CC, then okay. If he is selling before the CC.
Even if he is selling before the CC, then what he is selling his rights in those units or apartment. तो उसमें भी आप you can take the stamp duty value to determine, to justify that my valuation of full value of consideration has a basis. Either you take a stamp duty value or you have a registered valuer's report on the date of sale or transfer, that can be done accordingly.
That will be accepted.
That has to be accepted, because what is to be accepted is what is stated in the law or what is done in common sense or regular business practice.
So, but then why in the act it is saying in 45(5)(a), before if I sell into the CC, then the taxability time arises at the date of signing of JDA. Why is
No, 45(5)(a) does not say that taxability arises at the time of JDA. 45(5)(a) says if the landowner transfers his share of land or building before the date of CC, then the taxation will be done as per the provisions other than the provisions of 45(5)(a). Other than the provisions of 45(5)(a), we have to go according to the decided decisions or the trade practice. When does the guidance note of ICAI, the point of transfer is when substantial risks and rewards of ownership are transferred to the buyer. So that takes place only when the possession is given. That is the point of time when you will have to decide. First you will have to determine the point of time when does the transfer take place. Then on that particular date क्या valuation है उसका, वो अपने को determine करना है. Sir, I feel I have confused you a lot. And you know, this is such a topic, this is such a discussion. I mean, I have been doing it for last more than 30-40 years. But मैं अभी भी आपके आज की टॉक के लिए, believe me or not, 4 complete days I have spent in reading and understanding and revising my knowledge and understanding. I thank you for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving such a nice deliberations, and you also cleared many doubts which was arising in the mind of our audience. Yes, it's a very complex subject, and it shows the types of question was being asked by the audience was very fantastic and very qualitative, and it seems that it is one-to-one they are facing in the day-to-day scenario. And you have done very well. One thing which you have very strategically stated that nomenclature of anything doesn't change the characters and the substance of any particular transactions. This is very well cleared, sir. And also clear about the section 43CA and 50C versus leasehold property. It's very many times so it is get confused. You also dealt very well about the JDA and various clauses to be taken care while drafting the JDA. So this was also very particularly developed by you, sir. And you also stated very well that there is no ICDS for the real estate. It is being developed by the ICI, and only we have to only follow that ICDS of the ICI. So if you have any questions, you may discuss offline, because every good thing has to come in. And now the lunch time is also there, and after the lunch we have to assemble again on 2:30 to discuss about the succession, about the about the Land Ceiling Act, a scheduled caste and scheduled tribe land, and minus land as well as REITs. So please come by 2:30 and join the next session. Thank you so much.
No, registration is a must. So that you read by your